Welcome to yet another edition of the Midnight Blitz Scoreboard Show for the week ending Friday, October 13th, 2017 or 2017. I'm Walter Johnson, the host of the Midnight Blitz Scoreboard Show. Hard to believe this Friday the 13th is over, and we're closing in on 12:11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time on in the beginning of Saturday, October 14th, 2017. And it's hard to believe week 9 is the high school football regular season, the 9th full week. The high school football regular season is in the books, at least for the GHSA schools. And we're getting to the point in the season where teams, where every high school football fan that follows the game regularly, we'll have to start paying attention to the standings within their own regions. As the regular season just starts to wind down, hard to believe at the GHSA level and within the GHSA, there are only 3 weeks left in the regular season, and just 1 week left here in the GISA. And the regular season started way back on August 11th. There are many teams there, and looking to get to the GISA teams toward the end of the broadcast. And a little bit of a surprise in one of those GISA games. But for now, we're going to look at the scores here in the GHSA, and start in Leesburg and Lee County Trojans. Up until their game against Northside-Warner Robins at Trojan Field on Friday night, had never been 8-0, but that changed. Just about a couple of hours ago, give or take. And Lee County needed overtime to defeat Northside-Warner Robins 16-13. And Lee County only had a 3-0 lead at the end of the first quarter. And that was the same score at the half, 3-0 in Lee County's favor. And then Northside scored a touchdown to take a 7-3 lead. And it turned out that would be the only time Lee County would trail in the game. And the Trojans scored a touchdown late in the third quarter to take a 10-7 lead. And then a 59-yard field goal by C.J. Munson with 1:13 to go in regulation. Yes, a 59-yard field goal try by C.J. Munson of Northside of Warner Robins. Tied the score at 10 apiece. And Lee County actually had a chance to score a game-winning field goal of their own, but it fell short. And they had free football at Trojan Field in Leesburg and Northside of Warner Robins, and kicked the field goal to go ahead 13-10, and Lee County trailed only once during regulation, 7-3, but that go-ahead field goal in overtime gave Northside of Warner Robins just the second lead in the entire contest, 13-10. But a touchdown pass, but a 15-yard pass from Jace Orendorf to Josh Asbury. Lee County's possession in overtime gave the Trojans the dramatic victory, 16-13, the final score. And with the win, Lee County is now 8-0 overall, and Lee County is 8-0 for the first time ever. And keep in mind, for those first-time listeners, and even those people who have followed high school football in Southwest Georgia for years, and Lee County's football program started back in 1971, unlike Valdosta, and they've had football for well over a century. And century is way back in 1913. And this is a program that's just now not only getting used to winning, but winning at a high level. And once again, the final score: Lee County 16, Northside-Warner Robins 13. And the Trojans will get next week off and will return to action to take on the Valdosta Wildcats next week down at Bazemore Higher Stadium, Cleveland Field in Valdosta, Georgia. And it's in the other GHSA, and looking at the other GHSA Region 1-6A contest up in Warner Robins in Middle Georgia. And the Coffee Trojans out of Douglas, Georgia, had a much easier time against the Houston County Bears. And Coffee County crushed Houston 35-0, the final score. And a look at the GHSA Region 1-6A standings and through Friday's action. And Lee County is 2-0 in Region 1-6A. As I mentioned before, 8 overall. And Lee County right now is in the driver's seat with 2 region games left to play. And Lee County has a bye week next week, and then travel to Valdosta. And let me correct myself there. Lee County goes to Valdosta next week, which would be Friday, October 20th. And then they had a bye week. And then we'll come back home to finish the regular season against Coffee. And Lee County, Lee County's in the driver's seat right now at 2-0 in region play, 8 overall. And Coffee, with their 35-0 shutout win at Houston County, snapped the 2-game losing streak and losing back-to-back close games, 33-31 at Tift County, and 52-49 of a high-scoring game at Warner Robins. More on Tift County and Warner Robins toward the end of this program live on the Southwest Georgia Network. And by the way, you can follow the Southwest Georgia Network on Twitter at SWGA Network. And you can also click the link to follow the Midnight Blitz Scoreboard Show, as well as the High School Football Roundup podcasts. Both are live on the Southwest Georgia Network YouTube channel. And see, you mentioned Lee County, 2-0 in the region, and 8 overall. Coffee, 1-0 in the region, and 4-2 overall with their win at Houston County, 35-0. And you got Valdosta, and then Northside-Warner Robins with the tough loss, dropping to 1-1 in Region 1-6A and 6-2 overall. And next week, Northside-Warner Robins will travel down to Douglas, Georgia to take on Coffee. And what essentially amounts to a playoff positioning game for both teams. Northside Coffee 1-0 in the region, and Northside-Warner Robins at 1-1 in the region after losing at Lee County. And Lee County is 2-0 in the region. Will also be looking to go to 3-0 in Region 1-6A. And right now, in the Region 1-6A title, which would be just the third region title ever in Lee County history, and that would be Lee County used to lose at this point. And they're going to move on to some Region 1-4A action. They're going to move on to some Region 1-4A action right now. Starting in Columbus, Georgia, and the Westover Patriots snapped a 3-game losing streak as they defeated the Columbus High School Blue Devils. Final score 26-13 in Westover's favor. And a much-needed win for head coach Octavia Jones and the Westover Patriots. who got their first region win of the season against 3 losses, 1-3 in the Region 1-4A play and 3-4 overall. And I'm sure it was a happy bus ride from Columbus back home to Albany, and picking up a much-needed region win. And the Patriots' 3-game road swing continues next week as they travel 60-plus miles south to Cairo, Georgia, to take on the Serve Makers. And the Serve Makers also travel to Columbus to take on the Carver Tigers. And Cairo won 24-13 over Carver of Columbus. And the Serve Makers bounced back quite nicely from their loss at America Sumter, 31-15, just a couple weeks ago on Friday, September 29th. And Cairo goes to 3-1 in Region 1-4A and 4-3 overall. And so Cairo picks up a quality win on the road. And against the Carver Columbus team, they came in at 2-1, just 2-4 overall, but 2-1 in Region 1-4A. But with that loss, Carver falls to 2-2 in the Region 2-5 overall. And Cairo awaits Westover next week. And America Sumter has now won 5 in a row. And the Panthers pick up a 31-0 shutout win at home over Shaw. So the Panthers go to 4-0 in Region 1-4A, still undefeated in league games, and 5-2 overall. And most importantly, of course, America Sumter remains in sole possession of first place in GHSA Region 1-4A. And the Panthers are back on the road and heading to Columbus for a Thursday night game against Hardaway. And moving on to GHSA Region 1 AAA right now. And both Region 1-4A contests were played at Hugh Mills Stadium in Albany this week. And Thursday night, it was crisp. It was Cook. It was the Cook Hornets out of Adel, Georgia, and traveling to Albany to face the Darty Trojans. And Cook, believe it or not, Cook actually trailed 24-6 about halfway through the third quarter against the Trojans from Albany. But in the end, Cook rallied to pick up a 33-32 win. And Cook's been on a roll in their these last several weeks, winners of 3 straight games after starting the season 0-4. And it's not like Cook lost to some bad teams and getting shut out 21-0 by Brooks County, 31-7 to Tift County. Had a big game against Lowndes tonight on this Friday, the 13th. And then crushed Brunswick on the road. Got crushed by Brunswick on the road, 53-7. Then after back-to-back open dates due to Hurricane Irma, the Hornets gave the Thomasville Bulldogs all they can handle before bowing 40-34, and Thomasville escaped with the Hornets' nest down in Adel with a 40-34 win. And since then, the Hornets have been red hot, crushing Early County 49-13, then on September 29th, and last week on October 6th, Friday, October 6th. And the Hornets, I should say, overcame an early 13-0 deficit and held the Worth County Rams to just 6 points. The rest of the contest, 140-19. And then on Thursday, October 12th, the Thursday night game, Cook rallied to pick up another victory, 33-32. And the Hornets come out on top in a close game. And the Friday night game at Hugh Mills Stadium saw the Crisp County Cougars take on the Monroe Tornadoes. And this was the first region game of the season for the Cougars out of Cordele, Georgia, while the Tornadoes were playing their second GHSA Region 1 AAA contest. And Crisp County jumped out to a quick 26-0 lead at the end of the first quarter. And basically cruised from there as the Trojans, when I say the Trojans, I meant the Crisp County Cougars just crushed the Monroe Tornadoes 50-26. And perhaps the big highlight in that game came in the first half when Crisp County star defender Quay Walker was ejected for targeting. And targeting, for those people that know football terminology, is when a player, usually the defensive player, and leads with the crown of the helmet when trying to make a tackle, and that's illegal, and usually that's a personal targeting is a personal foul penalty. Personal foul resulting in a 15-yard penalty, and as well as an automatic ejection from the game for the offending player. And it seemed like there was enough evidence in that play to call the targeting, to make the targeting call against Walker, and Walker was tossed from the game. But still, the Crisp County did pick up the victory, 50-26 over Monroe. And a quick look at the GHSA Region 1 AAA standings through games played on the week of Friday, October 13th, 2017. And Cook now leads Region 1 AAA at 2-0 and 3-4 overall. And Crisp goes to 1-0 in Region 1 AAA and 5-1 overall. And the wins by both Crisp County and Cook set up an early battle for first place in Region 1 AAA next week, as the Cougars from Cordele travel all the way down to Adel, Georgia, to face the Cook Hornets in a game that could likely decide the GHSA Region 1 AAA title. And Monroe, with a loss to Crisp County, drops to 1-1 in GHSA Region 1 4A and 2-5 overall. And Monroe and the Tornadoes will get a bye next week. And this past Friday's game against Crisp County and marked the final home game of the season for the Tornadoes. And have already split their first two region contests on Friday, October 6th. The Tornadoes defeated the Darty Trojans, their arch rivals from East Albany, just across the Flint River, in East Albany, 29-19. And the Tornadoes dropped to 2-5 overall again, as well as to 1-1 GHSA Region 1 4A, with the loss to Crisp County. So if Monroe is to secure a playoff berth, if the Tornadoes are going to finish no worse than second place and host at least one playoff game, and they would have to go on the road and win their final two region contests. And after their bye week, the Tornadoes will return to action on Friday, October 27th, travel 20-plus miles east to Sylvester, Georgia, to take on the Worth County Rams, who are still looking for their first win under first-year head coach Ben Simmons. And Worth County sitting at 0-7 overall and 1-1 in Region 1 AAA action. And Darty, thanks to the with their heartbreaking 33-32 loss at home to Cook, dropping to to 0-2 in Region 1 4A and 1-7 overall, with just 2 games left to play in their home finales next Friday against the Worth County Rams. And Worth County, as I mentioned earlier, still looking for win number 1 under their first year head coach Ben Simmons. I say first year, and because Ben Simmons spent the previous 2 seasons at Turner County, probably coming down the road to Sylvester to take over the Worth County job. And next week's game between the Worth County Rams and Darty Trojans at Hugh Mills Stadium is basically a playoff game for both teams. And Worth 0-1 in the region, Darty and 0-2 in Region 1 AAA. So you're talking about a game that has must win written all over it for both for either Worth County or Darty. It's like the old saying goes, something's got to give when Worth County and Darty meet next week. And then Crisp County goes to Cook next week. And what will likely decide which team not only wins, keeps at least a share of first place in Region 1 AAA, but more importantly, which team might ultimately end up winning the region title. And I have to think the winner of the Crisp County Cook game will more than likely go on to win the Region 1 AAA title and have a home field advantage for at least the first 2 games of the playoffs. First things first, still a lot of football left to be played. And moving on to some other games. And then let's move on to GHSA Region, GHSA Class Single A. And some of those games there. From this Friday, October 13th in Mitchell County and Seminole County. Perhaps the game of the week in Region 1 Single A. And really not much of a game down in Donaldsonville, Georgia, in the lower southwestern corner of Georgia. And the Mitchell County Eagles go to 6-1 overall and more importantly, they stay undefeated in GHSA Region 1 Single A with a 35-8 rout over Seminole County. And Pelham's also 6-1 on the season and undefeated in Region 1 Single A play at 6-0. And the Hornets really put the sting on Randolph Clay, winning 53-0 down in Pelham, Georgia, along US Highway 19. And both of those teams will continue on their collision course towards winning the Region 1 Single A title outright on November 3rd. And down in Camilla. And first things first, and then this is what's left for Mitchell County on the regular season. And Saturday, October 1st, and that's in 1 week. Mitchell County hosts Calhoun County on the 27th of October, a Friday. Mitchell County hosts Baconton Charter. And then the game against Pelham and before their game against Mitchell County, the Hornets are at home against Stewart County on the 20th. That's next Friday. And then the following Friday, they're home against Seminole County before their showdown against Mitchell County. But again, first things first, both teams have to take care of business these next couple of weeks. And region, and see, and in the Region 1 Single A standings, in Mitchell County and Pelham still tied for first place in Region 1 Single A at 6-0 in region play and 5-1 overall. In Seminole County with a loss to Mitchell County drops to 4-2 in the region, 4-3 overall. And in And some other action involving GHSA Region 1 single A teams. Chattahoochee County crushed Calhoun County 43-0 in a close game between the Georgia team and the Florida team. And it was the team from Colquitt, Georgia, the Miller County Pirates, escaping with a 27-24 win over Sneads, Florida. Sneads is spelled Sneads, Sneads, Florida. And just across the state line, Miller County wins 27-24 over Sneads of Florida. And in Region 2 single A action, in Pelham, Region 2 single A action, not one single A, it was Clinch County crushing Turner County 42-7, while Irwin County had no trouble in disposing of Lanier County 46-7, the final score in that contest. And the Region 2 single A standings look this way. And Irwin County remains undefeated in region play at 4-0 and 6-1 overall. And Charlton County was 2-1 in the region and 4-1 overall. And Charlton traveled to Wilcox County. Unfortunately, I don't think I have a final score on that contest. That game was played in Rochelle, Georgia, just east, about 20 miles east of Cordele. And Irwin County, Turner County, where their loss to Clinch County dropped to 2-2 in the region, 4-3 overall. And remember, one important thing to keep in mind, the top 24 teams in the final power rankings in the public school group will advance to the state playoffs in Class Single A. And there's a separate group for the private school teams, but since there are no private school teams in there are no private school teams in GHSA Class A from the Southwest Georgia area, the Southwest Georgia network coverage area, and there's no point in mentioning the private schools on this program. And I'm back with the Midnight Blitz Scoreboard Show on the Southwest Georgia Network. I'm Walter Johnson, and I mentioned earlier, since there are no private schools in GHSA Class Single A, and since there are no GHSA Class Single A private schools from Southwest Georgia, there was no mention, and I didn't bother to mention the private school division. And speaking of private schools, I'm going to the GHSA now at Webb Stadium on the campus of Deerfield Windsor School in Albany. You got the Deerfield Windsor Knights playing host to the Valwood Valiants out of Valdosta, Georgia. And the Knights had a chance to clinch at least a share of the GHSA Region 3 AAA title with a victory over Valwood, but Valwood had other ideas, and the Valiants jumped out to a big lead over the Knights and never looked back in winning 35-0. And with the win, Valwood goes to 5-3 overall. And 2-1 in GHSA Region 3 AAA. And as for the Knights, and they fall to 5-4 overall and 2-1 in GHSA Region 3 AAA. And it seemed like that loss proved to be very costly for Deerfield Windsor in more ways than one. And that was because Southland Academy played host to the Brookwood Warriors out of Thomasville, Georgia, 60 miles south of Albany, 35 5 miles northeast of Tallahassee, Florida. And Southland closed the regular season with a 41-3 win over Brookwood. And with the win, Southland finished the regular season at 8-1 overall and 2-1, and made that 3-1 in GHSA Region 3 AAA. And Southland's only loss came to Deerfield Windsor back on September 29th, a 20-17 upset win for the Knights. And Deerfield could have clinched no worse than a tie for the Region 3 AAA title had they defeated Valwood, which they didn't. And now the Knights have to go to Brookwood next week to finish out the regular season, try to settle for a finish a 3-1 in Region GHSA Region 3 AAA action, and then hope for the best. And so Deerfield could still win the GHSA Region 3 AAA title if they defeat Brookwood, and Valwood loses its regular season finale next week, which would be at home against Tift Area Academy. And the Panthers stepped out of GHSA Region 3 AAA action to face Westfield out of Perry, Georgia. And it was Tift Area trouncing Westfield 55-18. And rounding out the GHSA scores for the week of Friday, October 13th, it was Southwest Georgia Academy out of Damascus, Georgia, taking on the Terrell Academy Eagles. And it was Terrell Academy. It was Southwest Georgia Academy defeating Terrell Academy 40-27. And congratulations go out to the Southwest Georgia Academy Warriors. And they finish the regular season at 7-2 overall and finished GHSA Region 3 AAA action undefeated at 2-0. And there are only two teams in GHSA Region 3 AAA. And correction, GHSA Region 3 AA. Had to get all my A's straight as far as naming the regions. And Terrell Academy will close out their regular season on the road to face Westwood. And the Eagles out of Dawson, Terrell Academy out of Dawson, Georgia, fell to 2-5 on the season overall and finished in 0-1 in GHSA Region 3 AA. And Terrell Academy will travel down to Camilla next week, Camilla, Georgia, to take on the Westwood Wildcats. And the winner of that game will finish second in the region, while the loser will have to settle for a last place finish out of three teams, only three teams in that league. That's just the way it is. And a quick wrap up of some other action. Perhaps the game of the week, or one of the top games this week in Georgia, was in Tifton, Georgia. The Tift County Blue Devils taking on the Lowndes, playing host to the Lowndes Vikings out of Valdosta. It was a back and forth game until late in the contest, and the Vikings returned a pick six for a touchdown, and the extra point was no good, but Lowndes did pick up the 51-38 victory over Tift County, and Lowndes with the win remains undefeated at 8-0 overall and 1-0 in GHSA Region 17A. And the Vikings head to the Georgia coast to Kingsland, Georgia, to take on Camden County. And Camden County fell to Colquitt County in the Region 17A opener for both teams. And the Packers won that contest 27-6. And seeing the Packers are back at the Hog Pen down in Moultrie to take on Tift County. And Tift County is now 7-1, and Colquitt County with the win over Camden County goes to 7-1 overall and 1-0 in Region 17A. And Colquitt County and Tift County, despite a hard-fought, valiant effort, suffers and the losers for the first time in 2017. And the Blue Devils fall to 7-1 overall and 0-1 in GHSA Region 17A. So in this game between Tift County and Colquitt County down in Moultrie will be for second place. And and let's see, and bring in how about one more score before calling it a night. In GHSA Region 17A, it was Thomas County Central bouncing back from that tough loss to Warner Robins last week, blowing a 21-0 lead en route to a 30-28 loss eventually. And Thomas County Central won over Veterans 34-14 to go to 3-5 overall and 1-1 in GHSA Region 15A. And on that note, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Midnight Blitz Scoreboard Show for Saturday, October 14th, 2014. Make that 2017. It's Saturday, October 14th, 2017. And with your host, Walter Johnson. Remember to follow the Southwest Georgia Network on Twitter at SWGA Network. And also, on the Twitter page, you can also click on the link to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just click the red button to subscribe. And also click the dark gray bell to get notifications of new content. Thank you for listening, and have a good night and a good weekend.